Hi, welcome back to the ZBQ channel, Zero Blunder Quest. I'm Eddie on the journey to 1700s ELO rating. Today I'll be making a fast reviewing. I still want to make a game today, so I want to start with the review of this game of yesterday, which was the first one. The first game in the channel, and zero blunders. I'm sure it won't be always like this, but let's go ahead and make the review.
Opening with the queen's pawn controls the
let
center.
me take the sound out. Although chess.com has recently some interesting insights. So I started the way I normally start, which is I tend to play the London system every time I can, and here it was the moment that I made I went out of what is in my London London course. Let's put it this way. I was a little bit. I know more or less the basic ideas of what I should follow in certain. If my opponent does certain things, for example, I know that when this knight comes out quite early, like normally this tends to be one of the easiest ways to fight black with the London system, because that's why most higher rated games you will see c5 quite often, maybe sometimes even in the first move or the second move, if they already know that you are a London player game. London player, yeah, I just added the word game. Okay, and here I could have done the most natural thing, and what I normally do is actually play this knight bd2, which, for the ones that do not know, I'm talking about the London, and you probably are wondering, but what is he talking about? The London is a system where all pieces have a place to go, and if black lets you, it's a good point of start, because you develop all the pieces. So how it is, you want to construct a pawn structure here, like this triangle with this pawn. You want to have this bishop here controlling this diagonal. Sorry. You want to have this knight here. Some London players play the second move, the bishop f4. Others, for me, it really depends. If black plays d5, I first go with the knight. If they play knight f6, I can start already with the bishop. But so the main position, which I can even try to show you just by, let's say, for now we can play this bishop here, because if he takes, we have the queen. And now let's say that he plays some other passive move, and actually the most common move is actually the knight, but at this position specifically, since he got his bishop out, which is not in every game, we will need to come with queen here. Let's say that he does another development move. We bring our knight here, and basically this is the setting of the London. You have the bishop here that is pointing here to whenever he castles. You have flexibility, because you can either castle long or you can castle short depending on the position. and basically this is the square that we are fighting for during the opening and into the middle game. So we want to make sure that black doesn't have ideas of coming here. A lot of times we can place the knight there. There's a lot of ways, but yeah, this is the position that normally we are aiming for. The queen is already like the extra move. Some people also place the queen here depending on the situation, but I believe this is the more accurate one. I'm not going to go now into typical ideas that I see on the London. I just wanted to get it out of the way. So the London is this triangle, this knight here, the other knight here, like they are, one is defending the other. This bishop is in a very interesting point, and this bishop is in a very interesting diagonal. So normally we want to keep this bishop, so a lot of times this move will happen because for example now that the pawn is here, if he attacks our bishop we cannot come here, and we can only come here, and normally we want to keep this bishop, and also this. So yeah, okay, with this explained, of just adding one more nuance, that sometimes we can make this pawn break, the e4 pawn break, in, for example, if he plays the King's Indian, which is another structure that I'm not gonna explain. If you know it, nice. Sometimes with certain openings we can actually go for e4 and occupy more space in the center. But still, the classical London position is this one. The triangle, the knights defending each other, this knight is eyeing this square, a very important square, this pawn also, this bishop also, and the thing with this black knight here is that again this pawn is not being challenged by anything, and that's why normally c5 is played. But okay, with this out of the way, in this position yesterday I played c4 because I made an incorrect move. That this move would have worked a lot better if this knight had already compromised with f6. Why? Because if this knight was already compromised with f6, he couldn't protect this knight, because at the moment this knight can still jump here and protect this. And normally the idea of c4 is to make an attack on the queen side by coming with the queen here, attacking this position, creating a pin, sometimes also with the bishop, and normally offering, if he takes, we can just develop the bishop and then come here, and there's a lot of poison if we manage to do this, and let's say here we are already threatening to take, and you will have double pawns, and then we can just do this, and of course if he does this then you will have triple pawns, and we can just come here. We are attacking this pawn, and again he has this knight here, so if he had this knight here he could only defend with the queen, and immediately attack the queen, and there's a lot of basically this will fall sooner or later, this might fall already, or the other way around. Now he has to run with the queen. If he runs here, probably he doesn't want to run here because we can just grab this pawn since the bishop is here. We can just grab this pawn and then grab the rook. So yeah, basically white is already in a big advantage. So that's what I was considering when I played the c4. But yeah, I overlooked that this knight was not here. But still, even if this knight was here, I could still go for the main c3 move. It's also totally acceptable. We can even check on with what the engine says. The engine at this point advises d3 and knight bd2 and a3. This is still in lower level. I think is on depth 28. I think I saw this yesterday, and I think the main move is actually knight bd2, which is like my first 5 moves in most of my games playing the London, which is also an advantage of this opening, since it's a system. You can actually play the same moves most of the time, which is for someone that is already that is starting chess late and doesn't want late in their life, or late or not so soon, let's put it this way, not in such a dramatic tone. A system where you can easily, you don't have to memorize a lot of stuff, is interesting. So it's still saying bishop d3, but is more or less the same as knight bd2. And here the 5th move, or the 4th now, is actually the c3. So basically any of these moves would be natural. Probably if we play c3, if he takes, we can take with the queen, but we can also take with the pawn. And this idea of taking with the pawn is that then we can occupy the center with some other pressure, which is a common idea on this. But again, normally this knight is already here, and yeah, things are slightly different. So what happened in the game? With all this said, I ended up playing c4, and let me go back to the analysis. Okay, and my opponent played the bishop. I considered this, but I also considered this, and this was a little bit more scary, and I checked with the engine that in fact was a difficult move to handle, because he has this bishop and the knight here. It would be difficult to deal with this. It would be, I mean, I had to come with the knight here, just for you to visualize. So let's say that he played this. Now he's attacking this square, which will make a fork with the check, and I won't take it with the queen because I will lose my queen. So the only way to defend this in the first glance is, of course, the typical knight to the side, which is not so good. It's not the best development move for the knight. But yeah, he did not play this. But still, I feel yeah, I was a little bit careless on, because I actually considered this when I was playing the c4, and I don't know exactly if I had played this, and if you'd now play this, to be honest, we can play the rook and the pawn will disappear. We can play the bishop and we can play the pawn. But I'm interested to see what was his best move if this had happened. What was our best move, I mean. Oh, I see. Yeah, I knew this already. It's very frustrating when you... Yeah. So the idea here is that we could actually play this without any problem. Well, this is meant to be instructive, so it's instructive for me and for anyone seeing that probably some of you have already seen this defense, which is basically we would check, and now of course he's not gonna place the queen in front. He's not gonna move the king, but even if he does, it's okay. He can move c3, or he can go back with the knight. Probably for us it would be best if you go back with the knight, which probably is a mistake for him. Let's see. Yeah, it's not such a good move, because then we had this knight here, and automatically we are already making a lot of pressure on c6. But the idea of the defense is like that if you press c3, that according to chess.com review is the best. Now we can come with the bishop here, and yeah, and this is something that maybe we are not so used to, or maybe I am not so used to think about that. It's like the knight going back, right? We a lot of times don't tend to oversee the moves where the knight goes back, or we also tend to oversee the big diagonals or big range moves. So this was the proper way to defend it, and yeah, and it's totally playable. We are still in the advantage that white normally has. So this basically was the way to go. But going back to the game, I play c4, he played this, which was also not so good. I just protected with... In this situation, I ended up playing the knight here because I was just thinking that lately I will want to open this file, bring the rook here, and the rook here together with this bishop. Whenever this knight gets out, this might be an interesting point. But probably if he takes, I have a pawn here, so, and then I switch, so then the column that actually will be free, it's this one. So, but yeah, now this was the first move that told me that maybe this player is not so doesn't as yet, or maybe I might have a better understanding of this structure than my opponent, because I really felt I don't get this move, and I feel that, and after a while I realized that maybe it was just he didn't want me to do this, so he would take, and I would take, and he would take, I think, but then he would have this. To be honest, I really didn't understand, and the engine also doesn't understand. Of course, that he should have developed his knight, and I brought my rook here, being faithful to my idea. But of course, although I realized this move was bad, I didn't took advantage of, and this is something that we'll work on along this journey. I could have actually brought automatically the queen here and make this and create this pin already, and if you would probably, I don't think this was the best move. Yeah, the best move was still that knight there that he can still play. But after this knight here, I'm gonna bring the other knight, and the queen will have to come here, or he has to find some other way. So, I mean, when we can put pressure directly on a piece, probably we should do that. But I didn't do that. I played. I played the. Sorry. So. Okay, yeah, I had played the rook on c1, and he finally develops his knight to that square, which made me think you will probably want to fight for the e4 square, moving this bishop, this pawn. That was my idea at the time. He castle, all good. I castle. The engine says he should have taken my bishop. He didn't. I took his bishop. That it was an accuracy. I should have taken this one first. I actually overlooked this. Yeah, because it's uncommon for this knight to be here, that I overlook it taking with the knight. Because if you take with the pawn, it wasn't actually a very bad. It was double pawns, but I don't think those pawns were so bad. So I keep on with my initial idea of opening my c file. I bring the rook to the e file. I don't remember exactly what I remember that this move was a little bit. I was thinking that this move could annoy me because he would be attacking this pawn. He placed the rook there, and I brought my knight to attack the queen and attack this pawn and this pawn, and at the same time I open my rook, so he will need to keep the queen here or here to protect the knight. If he comes here, I automatically have this fork, so I'm only seeing that one. To what I could automatically probably add pressure here, but I don't think I did that. I did an even better move. Okay, what I was saying here, and this I remember, was that, okay, I will take here and you cannot take, because if you take, you'll lose the queen. But to this, I realized I fought on this tactic, but I just saw that he had this rook. But anyway, you would lose another move with the rook, so that's why it was a good move. And the best way, oh okay, the best way for him to defend was actually rook e7. So I could take, he takes, if I took the queen, he would take. So, but he didn't find it, so I actually made this as a miss. He says that I missed that pawn. Oh, okay. But wait. Okay, yeah, it was a small tactical idea that I would win a pawn. But I ended up, when I played his knight, he took, and now I played the rook, which was, I was just thinking, okay, we'll have to run away. He might gain my pawn, but I will have the knight as I want. I didn't, I could have played this better, definitely. And I got that pawn, he got this pawn, and now suddenly the game is very open. Also, there are no bishops. I think I managed to, he had 11 minutes, I had 3 minutes, so yeah, I was, as always, the turtle. And I play a bold move. I normally am not so aggressive, but I attacked his knight, and of course he moved there. I think I oversee this because I was already like trying to speed up things. And here I was actually considering this check, but I wasn't seeing a continuation. And I was a little bit preoccupied with this check, so that is why I moved my knight back. It was a bad move, of course, because if I would come here I would have a check, and I wouldn't be occupying the line that is, oh no, okay, I was thinking. So here I'm a little bit, okay, I need to be extra careful, but I was still thinking I might be still lucky, and I just didn't want him to find a draw. And since I know that a lot of players tend to resign very early in the game, I always I have the philosophy of never give up, and always trying to go to the end of the game as much as possible, because I know that my opponents will blunder too, and maybe after the 1700s we still see grandmasters blundering, so there's no reason whatsoever for people to, I see a lot of players just giving up when they lose the queen, or and then they never play actually end games. So normally when I realized that I was feeling I was not playing my best, I was feeling that my opponent was also, his moves, I could understand that if he was playing his best, or if he was a high rated player, he could probably have already won the game. Yeah, this was a tactical idea that, sorry, I didn't finish the idea that I was talking, but I was with 30 seconds, and 40 seconds, here 35, and I was actually my idea of attacking this rook was exactly to take this, because I could do this, and I saw that he couldn't come here and take this, and I did what I apparently the best move was here. Okay, I also overlooked this. Yeah, and now I think, and now my opponent blunders, and yeah, and I just mate. So I ended up making this super huge video. It wasn't my intention to be so big. I hope the next review. Well, I also talked here a little bit about the London system and the main structure. So yeah, so this was the first game. I want to play the second one, and but first probably I will make some puzzles just to warm up the head, and yeah, well, that's it. See you on the next one.